So I did it again. I started this video without doing an audio check, and okay, 18 minutes left. Started this video without doing an audio check. Not only that, but shooting a time lapse. So first 12 minutes of this video got fucked. But today, 7:21, we're doing a recovery run in the 11 minute to like 11:50 pace range. Surprisingly, we're in range, which is good. 12 minutes in, about 17 minutes left. I wanted to use the time, the entire 30 minutes to sort of detail why I run. I was doing a pretty good job until I realized I wasn't recording. Summarize everything I've stated so far. Main reason why I run is because I love to set goals for myself. I think running, fitness in general, is a great way to set goals for yourself, and it's a microcosm for everything else in your life. Setting goals. Not only setting goals, but what are the smaller goals? What are the short-term goals that you can set for yourself? I think for the most part, everyone has those like long-term goals. Those are like, that's like the end of the finish line when it comes to goals, right? But to get to that finish line, literally using running and racing as a parallel, what are those shorter goals that you need to achieve in the meantime? So if you want to run a marathon, for example, you can't just run a marathon. What are the smaller goals you need to achieve? First things first, you gotta run, right? You can start off by saying, well, I want to run a marathon, so I have to, before I run a marathon, 26.2 miles, I have to run a half marathon. That's a little too lofty. You can go even smaller. Before you run a half marathon, you have to run a mile. Before you run a mile, you have to run 5 minutes. Before you run 5 minutes, you have to just run. Whether that's 30 seconds, a minute, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You just have to start running. You just have to begin. And having that with fitness and setting those small goals, and then ultimately transferring the general fitness I was doing and achieving those goals, which is pretty much just getting in shape, getting some abs, transferring that to racing, revitalized how I was using fitness to achieve these smaller goals. And it's helped me along the way. I mean, my career path is not linear, and if you look at it from an outside point of view, I think if you look at most from an outside point of view, like, wow, that seems really hard to achieve. I'm in film and TV, and obviously, you know, I want to be doing this full time to be able to support a family. That's my goal. We get on a TV show, keep doing feature films, and not have to do anything else to make a living and support my family. That is a lofty goal. It's a hard goal. What do you do before that? Well, you study it, learn how to do it, take some classes. That's step one. That's a short-term goal. You do a play, right? You do an actual show. Step two, or reading something even smaller than that. That's step two. And you can say, after doing a show, after performing, get on TV. What does that look like? Maybe it's not a starring role. Maybe it's background work. After you do the background work, what's next? And you continue to build that sort of like ladder, of progression that you have to hit in order to hit your goals. And running has really helped with that, because it's a literal translation. It's very literal. I used to live in San Francisco, and the gym that I went to was literally at the bottom of the hill of where I lived. And after a while, I just got kind of tired with the monotony of lifting. He said the same thing about running, but the cool thing about running, and this is true with lifting too, right? I mean, you can always build more muscle, you can build more strength, but I wanted to do something that didn't necessarily alter my body in a way that I felt would impact like my career. I mean, you could obviously be in really good shape and still be an actor, but the route that I was going was like, you know, lifting heavier, building more muscle, and you could continue to go down that route, but then, you know, become a fucking meathead. Nothing wrong with it. You could potentially limit yourself to what you could be casting. It just is what it is. So my alternative was to stay fit, get more fit, but transfer it to running. So I used to live about 2 miles from the beach, in San Francisco, and I decided that I would just start running there. It was a great way to stay in shape, get in cardiovascular shape, and also continue to build those short goals for myself. I couldn't run 2 miles straight, so that was a goal of mine. And at first, it was just get there. Run as much as you could, walk if you needed to, just get there. And then I got to the point where I'd be able to run there without stopping. And then I was like, all right, how much more can I go now? How much more can I go now? And eventually, I signed up for my first race. It was Beta Breakers in San Francisco, which is notoriously more than a race. You know, there's people on the front running, and then there's people on the back dressed up and partying. It's a great race. It's my first race. It's about 12K. This is like 7 miles and some change. It was great. Really fun race. But that was another goal. Can I run that many miles consecutively? And the answer was yes. But had to build those short-term goals. And once that was established, I think I ran the San Francisco Marathon like 3 months later, which is really fucking bold. But that was another goal. Right, that was comparable to some of these really lofty goals that I have in life. But again, you need to build those shorter term goals. Once you achieve those shorter term goals, you build confidence. You build the necessary skills required to hit that longer term goal. And then you get to that long term goal. And when you achieve it, again, you build that confidence to achieve other goals. I'm trying to stay at a slow pace, within pace. I'm within range, but trying to get to that conversational pace. Speaking and running at the same time is no easy task. But ultimately, that's been my running journey, is using it as a microcosm for life and my other goals in life. I think it's a great sort of microcosm for anyone. If you have any lofty goals in life, if you want to be, I don't know, fucking CEO of a company, you don't know how to get there. You know, what's the first step? Break it down. Feels like a lot to chew on, but once you start to break it down into digestible pieces, it's not as bad. Even in this marathon prep, obviously my goal is not to finish anymore. My goal is to run in a certain amount of time. How do I get there? I'm not just gonna run fast. Thank you. What are digestible pieces to get there? This older lady just called me gorgeous, and I needed that boost of confidence because I was feeling really fucking fat this morning. Yeah, very kind lady. I was feeling fat mainly because, I don't know, wasn't able to digest the dinner yesterday, and still not near the weight goal that I want to be for marathon pace, but you know, only a couple weeks in. We got plenty of time to get there. Just sometimes I want shit super fast. But even in that goal, I haven't hit it. It is a long-term goal. But getting up this morning and doing a recovery run, it's a short-term goal. It is a step along that path. So achieving today's recovery run will give me that boost of confidence to get to the longer term goal, which is to be about 190, 195 and run a sub 3:30 marathon. I think too, what's super addicting is the result. When you complete the mission, you complete the goal, that's a boost of confidence that cannot be taken away from you. And you would think, fuck, who wants to run a marathon? Obviously there are millions of people who do, but you know, for the average person, who wants to run a marathon? And honestly, during a marathon, I'm like, why am I running a marathon? And then after a marathon is done, I'm like, fuck, I want to run another marathon. Because you're just injected with this boost of confidence that you really can't get anywhere else. I mean, maybe, and you definitely can get it, like achieving other athletic feats, or just other goals in general, but again, I use it as a microcosm for other things in life. Because to do it is a really fucking hard task. Even just to run some of the long runs that I've done already this year, it's a really hard fucking task. So when you're able to achieve a really hard fucking task, when you're able to achieve a really hard fucking task, your confidence just absolutely shoots through the fucking moon. And that confidence boost is addicting. And then you start to find that confidence boost in your career or whatever your dreams are outside of fitness, if they're not just fitness. It's like when I first booked my first big TV gig on SVU, a crazy boost of confidence. But in order to achieve that, in order to have achieved that, which was definitely always a goal of mine, I had to do all the little things first. Had to study it, had to go out and do really small shows. And the first time I got paid to do a gig, I was paid in food. First time I was paid to do a gig in San Francisco, I was paid with an open bar tab. So we go from that to being a SAG member and getting paid the SAG minimum, which minimum doesn't do it justice. The minimum for a SAG gig is like $1,200. Crazy. That's for one day of work. And if you're only doing one scene, that's for like not even 5 hours of work. That's the minimum. All that to say, these things add up. These small goals add up. This recovery run that I feel really ugly in right now because I'm running at a super slow pace and my body's sore. It all adds up. It all adds up. It's important to remember that on your journey, is that these small goals do count. Even when you feel like they don't, they do. And you can always look back on that journey before you even hit your long-term goal and say, wow, I did that. I did that. I did that. My fiance is trying to run her first half marathon, and her Nike app has something. It's a really good feature to it, and I was using it a little bit too early in my running journey, which is just a virtual coach reminding you of like, hey, you ran 10 minutes today. You weren't able to do that last week. You weren't able to do that the week before. And even if you only ran for 5 minutes, you ran for 5 minutes. It's more than you would have done otherwise, right? 5 minutes of running is better than not running at all. Whatever goal it is you have, along the way, there are smaller goals. There are smaller wins. Those small wins add up. And that's just not like motivational bullshit. That's anything in life. That's any pro athlete. They start somewhere. Doesn't matter if you're starting at 3 years old or if you're starting at 33 years old. A win is a win. A win is a win. Recovery run officially done. It felt really weird, but I think it's mostly because I was holding up the camera. Because as soon as I put it down, I felt great. Just to recap, just doing a quick recovery run for today. According to Garmin Watts, I was like 95% completion, which I believe is just like based off of like the stats that it's collected. Like, this is how confident it was that you were able to complete the goal. Relatively easy goal. One thing came up as soon as I was wrapping up. There's a big ass B there. One thing came up as soon as I was wrapping up. And what came up was the recovery run is 2.6 miles. That's a recovery run. And, you know, again, it felt kind of hard, but I think I was holding up the camera, so my body was kind of disoriented. As soon as I put it down, like toward the end, recovery run felt super easy. It was well into pace. It was actually on the high end most of the time. It was like 10:50, which, you know, at one point 10:50 felt like I was going hella fast. I felt like I was practically walking back there. But you know, at one point I couldn't even run a mile. At one point I couldn't run a mile, you know, going as hard as I possibly could. So to be able to do a recovery run of 2.6, and obviously I could have kept going, but, you know, I'm trying to trust the process and stick to the time. But at one point I couldn't do a mile. And so to be able to do a recovery run, a super easy run, like effortlessly, is just goes back to the overall point of this video, of this recovery run, which is really just trust the process, and setting those short-term goals for yourself is going to help with the long-term goal. You know, it's been like 7-8 years since I haven't been able to like do an easy 1 mile run, but the fact that I'm able to do it now shows that, like, all that work that I put in on the front end and throughout the 7 years, you know, 2.6 is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. You know, sometimes 5 miles is nothing. Sometimes I'll run 5-6 miles and feel fucking rejuvenated and not exhausted. So all of it matters. And all those like small things that you do, those short-term goals that you achieve along the path, it matters. And so that's really why running has been a huge thing for me. You know, it's come and go. It's come and gone throughout the years because of various things, you know, like COVID and, you know, little bouts of depression here and there. But whenever I'm trying to get out of those bouts of depression, I always revert back to running. And those bouts of depression, you know, have come from like failures, or not failures, or just a lack of movement in career sometimes, and in family and in life. I just realized the camera was all the way over there. That's where it's mainly come from. And what running gives me, what fitness gives me, but specifically running gives me, is just those like little achievements to hold on to, those little like bits of progress to hold on to. Makes a huge difference. And so, if you're thinking about running, if you need something to give you a spark in life, I highly suggest it. Obviously, there's the fitness aspect to it. I don't recommend just running, right? Do other things, right? I'm also doing jiu-jitsu. I've also been lifting for years, so hit the gym pretty hard. Haven't been there in a couple weeks as I've been ramping up this marathon prep. Calisthenics, do other things, not just run, burpees, push-ups, things like that while you're doing it, to maintain some muscle mass and make sure you're not just like running your body into the ground. But it's incredibly helpful, man. So if you need something to like give you a boost in life, if you need something that's just a confidence builder, I highly recommend to pick it up. And just to be clear, you're not going to have that confidence boost right away per se. You may start that run and you may be like, wow, I fucking suck, or this feels awful. But even in the motion of like just getting up and going for a run, that's an achievement, right? It might not feel like a lot because you're probably comparing yourself to like other folks, which is something I still do, like in terms of like other runners. But you're still doing, think of the percentage of the people who go on runs. It's a very small percent, worldwide and in America. So set those small goals for yourself and give yourself a little boost of confidence. It's helped me a lot in my life, and I think it'll help you.